People think New Year's Eve is about fresh starts, fireworks,
Countdown.
laughter, a clean line between the past and the future. But for some people, that line never resets. Because while the rest of the world is busy celebrating, something else is watching. And sometimes, the new year doesn't begin at midnight. Sometimes, it begins with a scream no one hears. Tonight, I'll share 3 very disturbing true New Year's horror stories, stories that didn't end when the clock struck 12. These are not urban legends. These are not campfire tales. These are events that happen to real people on the one night we're told nothing bad is supposed to happen. On December 31st, 2016, Ethan Moore was alone for the first time in his life. He was 24, recently moved to a new city for work, and didn't know anyone well enough to celebrate with them. So he stayed home. 9. He tried the windows. Jammed shut. 8. His phone rang again. Blocked number. He answered, shaking. "Please," Ethan whispered. "Who are you?" The voice smiled. "I'm the reason you won't see the new year." 7. Footsteps echoed from inside his apartment. But Ethan was alone. 6. The bathroom door creaked open slowly. 5. Something wet dragged across the floor. 4. Ethan screamed. 3. The voice on the phone whispered, "You already left the voicemail." 2. The lights came back on. The apartment was empty.
No. Party.
No drinks. Just his phone, his TV, and the sound of fireworks echoing outside his apartment window. At 11:57 p.m., his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. "Hello." There was breathing on the other end. Slow.
Wet.
Too close. "Who is this?" Ethan asked. A man's voice replied, calm and quiet. "You don't recognize me yet. That's okay." Ethan laughed nervously. "Wrong number, man." He hung up. At 11:58 p.m., the phone rang again. Same number. This time, the voice spoke immediately. "You shouldn't hang up on people you'll meet soon." Ethan's smile faded. "Stop calling me."
"I'll stop," the voice said.
After the countdown, Ethan blocked the number. At 11:59 p.m., his phone buzzed. Blocked number, voicemail received. Confused, Ethan opened it. The message was only 10 seconds long. It was his own voice.
Panicked.
Screaming. Begging someone to stop. The timestamp said it was recorded 1 minute in the future. Before he could process what he was hearing, the lights in his apartment went out. The TV screen stayed on. The countdown had started. 10. Ethan ran to the door.
Locked.
1. Fireworks exploded outside. Silence inside. Ethan collapsed to the floor, sobbing. Police found him the next morning after neighbors reported screaming. There were no signs of forced entry. No evidence of another person. But his phone held one final voicemail, recorded at 12:01 a.m. Breathing. And a whisper. "Happy New Year." Ethan moved away weeks later. He never uses his phone on New Year's Eve anymore. In 2012, a small town in Eastern Europe hosted a New Year's street celebration. Music.
Lights.
Hundreds of people. Among them was Mila Kovacs, a 19-year-old college student home for the holidays. At 11:50 p.m., she texted her friend, "This place is packed. I can't even move." 5 minutes later, she sent another message. "Something feels off." Her friend assumed she meant anxiety. At 11:58 p.m., Mila tried to leave the crowd, but the street felt wrong. The music continued playing, but no one was dancing. People stood still, smiling, facing the clock tower, not blinking. At 11:59 p.m., Mila tapped a man's shoulder. "Excuse me." He turned slowly. His eyes were completely white. No pupils. No emotion. She stumbled backward. Everyone else turned at the same time. All smiling. All staring at her. The countdown began over the loudspeakers. 10. Mila pushed through the crowd. No one resisted. They were stiff.
Cold.
7.
She ran.
The streets were empty. No fireworks. No cars. No sound except the countdown echoing everywhere at once. 5. She ducked into a store. The TV inside showed the same crowd she had just escaped, standing still, smiling. One of them turned toward the camera. It was Mila, smiling. 2. She screamed and shut her eyes. 1. Fireworks exploded. Noise returned.
People laughed.
Music played. Mila was found crying in the store, surrounded by confused strangers. Security footage showed something disturbing. At 11:59 p.m., the entire crowd froze. For exactly 60 seconds. Except Mila. No explanation was ever found. To this day, Mila refuses to celebrate New Year's in public. She says if she stays too long in crowds, she still feels people smiling at her. Without blinking. Jacob and Lauren Finch spent New Year's Eve 2019 in a remote cabin. No signal. No neighbors. Just them. At midnight, they toasted. But nothing happened. No fireworks. No distant noise. Their watches stopped. 12 a.m. Forever. They laughed it off. Until the clock never moved again. Minutes passed.
Hours.
The sky never changed. Their phones displayed the same date. January 1st. 12 a.m. They slept. Or thought they did. When Jacob woke up, Lauren was standing at the window. Not blinking. "Lauren," he asked. She didn't respond. Outside, snow was falling. But it never reached the ground. Frozen in midair. Jacob shook her. She turned slowly. Her voice was flat. "It's still New Year's." Every time Jacob tried to leave the cabin, he ended up back inside. Food never spoiled. Fire never burned down. Time had stopped. Except for him. Days, or maybe years later, Jacob stopped counting. The last thing he wrote in his journal was simple. "If anyone finds this, don't celebrate here." The new year doesn't always come. The cabin was discovered abandoned in 2023. Everything inside was untouched. The clock still read 12 a.m. January 1st. Jacob and Lauren were never found. New Year's is supposed to mean hope. But these stories remind us of something else. Time doesn't reset. It only moves forward. And sometimes it leaves people behind. So when the countdown starts this year, listen carefully. If you hear breathing on the phone, if the crowd stops moving, if the clock doesn't change, don't celebrate. Because the new year may have already chosen who doesn't get to enter it. Add more 1,000 words in this script.